In Ceuta, Spain, northern Africa, over 50,000 people have crossed from Morocco into the Spanish territory. Thousands have attempted to reach it by sea and many more by land. Spain has deployed soldiers and additional police force to the area, and there has been a reported 57 people dead from drowning or other chaos surrounding the border barriers. To put the scale into perspective, Ceuta has a population of 85,000 people. So, in one day, the number of people entering was equivalent to more than half of the entire city's population. And the images being shown online and the videos are absolutely mental, to say the least. People swimming around border fences, running from beaches, sleeping outside, and attempting to find food or shelter in a city that simply cannot support them. So, what's exactly happened in Ceuta? Why did so many people suddenly attempt the crossing, and what does this expose about Spain and Europe's ability to actually secure and control the borders? Firstly, Ceuta is not located on mainland Spain. It's a small Spanish territory in the North African coast, directly bordering Morocco, along with Melilla. It forms one of the European Union's only land borders with Africa. I'm not sure if that's how you say Melilla, but that's how I'm going to say it. The geography makes it one of the most sensitive migration routes in Europe, and some people attempt to climb or breach the land border while others swim the nearby Moroccan coastline into the Spanish territory. Depending on the starting point, the journey through the sea can cover several miles. There's already been increased pressure around Ceuta for days. Spain's Interior Ministry estimated that approximately 50,000 people entered during 24 hours. Ceuta's local president gave an higher estimation of roughly 60,000. That is not a simple, normal increase in migration. This is a mega issue. That's a complete breakdown of the border's ability to control the number of people arriving. That sounds like an invasion. 60,000 people at the border rushing the border gates. Nobody's queuing up. Nobody's waiting in line. There's 60,000 people. And from the videos I can see, it looks like mostly young men around military age. So that doesn't sit well when you're looking at it from the outside. Spanish authorities have linked the sudden rush to a recent Supreme Court ruling. The ruling said that people intercepted while attempting to reach Ceuta by sea could not automatically be returned immediately in the same way somebody caught crossing through the land border. According to the Spanish government, traffickers and social media rumours then misrepresented that decision, creating the impression that anybody who reached Ceuta through sea would be allowed to remain in Spain or eventually travel into Europe. Messages reportedly spread claiming that people would receive accommodation, legal documents, and access to mainland Spain. For thousands of young people facing limited opportunities in Morocco, that sounded like an opportunity they could not afford to miss. But when they arrived, the reality is completely different. There was nowhere near enough food, of course not. Nowhere near enough shelter, nowhere near enough support, of course not. People sleep in parks, on pavements, and in open spaces. And many discovered that reaching Ceuta did not mean that they would automatically receive legal status or be transferred to mainland Europe. By Friday evening, Spain said more than 48,000 people had already returned to Morocco. Doubtful, with many reportedly saying that they had been misled about what would happen after they crossed. These details do matter. Because a headline saying that 50,000 migrants entered Spain could make it sound like all 50,000 people are moving freely through mainland Spain, which, is not the case or does not appear to be the case. Most had reportedly returned within a day, but that does not make the event insignificant. For several hours, tens of thousands of people were able to overwhelm the border of a European territory. Spain had to deploy its armed forces. Emergency facilities effectively collapsed under the pressure, and dozens of people lost their lives trying to make the crossing. There are two realities here. I don't think we should pretend only one of them matters, because the first is the human reality. People do not swim for hours through dangerous water because their lives are going fantastically well and brilliantly at home. Many of those who crossed were probably, or from what I can see on the videos, young people who believe that there was no meaningful future available to them at home. And, a lot of them will have been misled and trafficked there essentially. And 57 people reportedly died during the attempt swimming, in the belief that they may get a better life where they are traveling to. That's terrible. That's not good, of course. But compassion does not mean pretending the borders are optional, because they're not. Borders are there for a reason. No country or city can safely process tens of thousands of unplanned arrivals within a matter of hours. Just makes no sense. There has to be an organized legal system for migration, asylum, and return. But once people believe that arriving in enormous numbers will make enforcement impossible, more people will risk the journey and more people will die. A border that cannot be enforced is not a functioning border. and migration policy that encourages desperate people to trust smugglers, rumors, and social media messages is not compassionate either. I'm traveling to Gibraltar in a few days, so naturally this story has caught my attention because Gibraltar is merely a few miles from Ceuta, just over the Gibraltar Strait. It's not far, you can actually see it from Gibraltar. But Ceuta is a separate territory on the African side of the strait, bordering Morocco. This incident is not taking place in Gibraltar, Spain, and there is no currently any travel warnings linking the crisis to Gibraltar. But still, seeing something like this on the scale that it's happening just beyond the Strait of Gibraltar is a reminder of how close Europe and Africa actually are, and how quickly pressure at one border can become a wider European political issue. France has already said it will strengthen checks involving arrivals from Spain, while Italy temporarily reinstated some border controls following the crisis. The immediate surge may now be coming under control. Most of those who crossed have reportedly returned to Morocco, which I'm not too sure about that one. But the deeper problem has not disappeared, essentially. There's economic frustration, incentive to reach Europe, smuggling networks, and social media can spread false promise to tens of thousands of people faster than governments can respond. The lesson from Ceuta is not that every migrant is dangerous, and it is not that Europe should abandon people who genuinely need protection. The lesson is vague rules, online misinformation, and weak border enforcement can combine to create chaos extraordinarily quickly. You can recognize the desperation of people making the journey while also accepting that Spain has every right and every responsibility to regain control of its border and essentially its people, to keep its people safe, because who knows who these people are who've come across in the thousands. Who knows what they are? It's a difficult one because, again, you have to have the human perspective, which is, these people just want a better life. They just want a better future. They want to build something for themselves, which, yeah, fine, I get. That's great. But essentially, the people of their home countries are going to be scared out of their minds. If you imagine looking out your window and seeing 30,000 men running at your house, you wouldn't be happy. You'd probably shit your pants. And it's down to the country to get the border under control, and at least until humans reach a point where space trek, we're in space trek, where everything's, we have a global connected consciousness and we're out there flying through the galaxies. We need borders on this planet. Absolutely, I think we need borders on this planet. I don't think borders are a bad thing. I think borders are a good thing. Most people agree with borders, and just think about it. It's like your house. Would you want to take the walls down of your house? I don't think you do. Do you want to leave your door wide open at night? I don't think you do. Why do you put a fence around your house? There's a reason for that, isn't there? There's the same reason why you have a border around your country. You don't just want people rolling in and rolling out whenever they want, doing whatever they want. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to Gibraltar in a few days, so I thought making this video was very worth doing, because I'm going to be in Gibraltar in a few days, and I'm going to be literally about 30 miles from where this whole thing has unfolded. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Was this an unavoidable humanitarian emergency, or did Spain allow preventable border crisis to actually develop? This is Jake O'Neill Talks, honest commentary on modern life.